So I'm going to combine a couple of ideas that I've had over the last week or so into this one video. We'll see how long it goes, but and I'm going to start with actually the second idea I had, and that was last night after my it wasn't even my middle school team's basketball game, but it was one of our teams, and I was helping out on the bench. I got to thinking, we've got this backward. We've had this thing backward for many, many years. We need to start early, okay? Now, later I'm going to talk about include them all. But right now I'm going to talk about starting early. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is we throw so many more resources, money being the main one, but resources in terms of good coaching, equipment, etc., how we handle games, contests, at our older players. Well, of course, the professional leagues and the colleges certainly are getting the majority of that, especially at the higher ends. But then the realms where I work more than anywhere else, the high school levels, middle school levels, youth kinds of levels, we throw so much more at the high school levels. That's where the better coaches are. That's where the kids get more quality instruction. There is more money devoted to the entire experience, whether it be equipment, officials, travel, all of the things that go into running a high school program. And then it trickles down to the middle school. So then your middle school coaches are generally the ones with less experience than those at the high school, generally speaking. I've been coaching for 40 years and I'm a middle school coach, so I'm kind of not in that realm. But for the most part, I think more often we'll find middle school coaches being younger coaches who are trying to work their way up. Yes, there are many like me who have been in it for many years, and this is where, we really like to be. But let's trickle it down even more to the youth levels, okay? And think about who's coaching at youth levels and what's being given in terms of equipment and all to youth levels. It's that much less. And here's the thing, that's where the foundation gets laid. And at the level I'm at, that's where the foundation is being laid. Or that's the final athletic experience for so many kids, the youth or the middle school. And what happens at these levels often, I know in our conference, I'm a basketball coach, the 6th and 7th graders in some of the schools that we play against, not ours, but in some of them, they play 6-minute quarters. And then the 8th graders play 8-minute quarters like at the high school. Well, at the 6th and 7th grade levels, there's generally more kids out, more kids who have not played before, and we need to get those kids as many minutes as we can to A, provide them with the best experience possible so they enjoy it more, but B, to get better so that they then are getting that much better for the next level, the 8th grade in the example I'm giving, but then on into high school. And yet we reverse it. We give it less. And then think about who's coaching at these levels. People who sometimes it's just, I have a kid who's wanting to play. And so, okay, that's great. Thank you. We want you to coach. That's great. But what kind of training are we providing for them? What kind of professional development do they get? Well, very little. In fact, sometimes none. And so here we are at the very first level for some of these kids, or at least some of the earlier levels for some of these kids in terms of playing a sport, an organized sport. And the training we give the coaches is minimal to none. And so we're asking those coaches to provide an experience that helps kids, A, have a great time, B, learn enough to get better, and C, improve at their skills and help them establish this love of the game that makes them want to keep going. We've got this backward. That's the level where we should be throwing a lot more money, time, resources, coaching, etc., professional development. And then at the middle school level, keep that kind of concept going. And then at the high school, and I'm not saying let's limit what we're doing at the high school. The high schools need that much more as well. And so obviously, one of the things I'm getting at is we need more resources. We need more help at all of these levels to provide our kids the best opportunity for a great experience, and some of them in terms of ability to continue to grow and develop and become really good players. The World Cup is going on right now. Our U.S. men's national team just won yesterday and got themselves into the round of, round of 16, into the knockout round. That's great. That's a huge step. But we are behind so many teams in the world. How can that be? You know, USA, I mean, we've got great athletes. We've got really good soccer players. Well, we're behind in terms of what has been thrown at it throughout all of these years. And again, where does it start and where does it build and get to? And so I think we really need to reevaluate our priorities and start focusing more attention on providing youth coaches the type of experience they need to provide youth players the kind of experience they want to have, and help build all of them to become the best they can be. And then, as I say, middle school level as well, and then high school level as well. So that was my second idea that I've had over this week that kind of blends with the first idea I had. And I had this about a week or two ago. And I started thinking, the idea was going to be called, this video was going to be called Include Them All. Well, that's the second half of the title. Okay? Start early and include them all is now what I've decided to call this. Include them all. Here's what I mean by that. I speak around the country and mainly at schools and mainly at high schools. Okay? That's the main audience that we have. And coaches is who I'm speaking to more than anyone else. And then athletes, and then parents as well. And then sometimes the entire school district. In last month, I spoke to an entire school district, actually two of them. They brought a neighboring school, 5th graders through 12th graders. All right, it was great. The entire school district, all the kids, teachers, etc. Well, the concept of include them all came to me when I realized most schools aren't doing this. And so when they invite me or invite any of us from Proactive Coaching to speak at their schools, usually it's the high school athletic director or principal who is having us in to talk to high school coaches, high school athletes, sometimes high school parents. But what about the middle school? What about the youth coaches and sometimes players? Players, it might be, not as in, they wouldn't be into it. But we need to start including all of them. High school down to middle school, down to youth coaches, so that we can help train all of them in a positive way to be creating the best experience possible for the kids in their programs, and to help them then help their kids grow and develop the way they would like to. But we don't do that enough. Not enough school districts, not enough leagues are doing that. They focus on the end product. Again, that's where we throw more resources. That's where there is a little bit more money. It's not like there's a lot of money in a lot of schools. Some schools there is, but most schools have, tight budgets. And so that's where they throw the resources. Well, I always say, invite your middle school. Get them all in here. Invite the youth programs. Get the coaches here. Don't you want everybody on the same page? And so we need to include them all. Okay? And now this one goes to athletic directors particularly, but also principals. Not only include them all in terms of the professional development that you're doing, but include them all in your other things as well. Invite your middle school coaches and your youth coaches and the club coaches in to do things with your teams, to learn how you do things. Make them feel a part of it. All right? We have schools, I know, where the school is saying, we are, program wide, and they're talking about high school on down through middle school, sometimes even into the youth. But the middle school and youth coaches aren't feeling that way. They don't feel like they're being told, you should be doing this in for our program. Okay. But how about including us then? How about making us feel like we're a part of it? Because if you want to build that we're our one big program feeling, between especially coaches, but also kids. Well, what are you doing to bring them along? What are you doing to help them feel a part of it, as opposed to just mandating from on high, you should do this and you need to start doing this? When you do things at your level, at your school, are you including the younger, again, coaches for the most part, but are you bringing in the younger players? Are you doing camps with all of them? Are you having your older kids working with younger kids? Are you having your high school coaches working with the middle school and youth coaches? This is the way to build the entire thing. And so let me wrap with the concept. So the title is Start Early, or Start Them Early, okay, and include them all. Let's make sure that we are bringing this entire group, if that's what you're trying to build, which I would imagine you do, the way that by the time they get to high school, sometimes it's too late. I'm not saying don't do things at the high school, but if you haven't laid a good foundation for your kids and your coaches at those earlier stages, it's hard to then make up for it at the high school level. And then, of course, those who end up getting good enough to go on to college and maybe even play professionally, well, the more experiences they've had that are positive experiences in terms of growth, the better chance they will have of success at that level. That's not our number one focus. Our number one focus is that they have a great experience through the youth, middle school, and high school levels. But that's also one ramification that will happen. So let's zero in. Let's focus on helping start them early, get them the resources they need, get them the training they need, and then let's work through that middle school level with the same focus and help get more to them as well, and then keep things going at the high school level by continuing to offer education, and incentives for it. Most of our coaches nowadays, I believe, I could be wrong, but around the country, the ones who I deal with, okay, and certainly in the communities I've been in, most of the coaches are community coaches. They're not teachers who are coaching. What kind of training have they had in how to deal with kids and how to teach? Well, let's get them that kind of training, whether it's youth, middle school, or high school. Get that kind of training to them so they can provide the best experience possible for kids. Right? And so, like I say, start early. Let's continue it in the middle, and let's finish it off strong at that high school level. And I think then we will start to see the kinds of results that we're wanting to see in terms of numbers of kids out, numbers of kids having great experiences, numbers of coaches providing that kind of experience as well. All right? Leave a comment down below and let us know, how is it done in your school districts? How is it being done in your leagues? Is there this kind of split? Is there this kind of disconnect? Or do you guys really have a nice program going where it's all throughout the entire program? Not that they're telling you it is, but then not living by it. No. Is it truly going there? Or is it like a lot of programs where they like to talk that up, but they're not necessarily doing that? We need more of that solidification. Again, when I was a varsity head coach, I wasn't saying you need to run this offense, you need to do this, but I was saying, here's how we do things at the high school level. Here's what our focus is. Here's what our core covenants are. Here's what our, those types of things. Let's start trying to have that be part of a strand. I still want those coaches to have some autonomy to do their own things, but here's our philosophy. Let's start with that. I think that's an important step in building the best programs possible. Would love to hear your thoughts on it down below. We'll talk to you again next time.